If you like looping or loop artists, or you're a loop artist yourself, or you're thinking about getting into looping, then welcome to my channel. My name is JP, and this is How Do You Loop? In these series of interviews, I dive into the minds of different loop artists from different genres around the world. We ask them, why do you loop? What do you use to loop? More importantly, how do you use that equipment? So, ladies and gentlemen, it's David Shannon in the house. Yes!
Hey.
How are we, my friend? How are we?
I'm doing awesome. Yeah, thanks. It's good to be here.
I just wanted to ask that you are able to gig now.
Yeah, we've just come back from a tour, which it's so nice. It's why we play music, right? It's like the combo of our own enjoyment and then being able to share that with other people. And yeah, nothing as much, we've both done some live streaming and all sorts, but nothing quite beats having everyone in a room and you all feel the vibes, and I feel very lucky.
Cool, fantastic. So thank you very much for speaking to me, and as we were saying, the time difference is astronomical. It's the other side of the world. So for those who don't realize, it's 10 p.m. here in the UK, and it is 9 a.m. the next day for David.
I'm in the future.
Please don't tell me if anything bad's going to happen. Now, your YouTube channel has been around for 10 years now. I don't know if you were aware of that. And I first saw you on How I Build Guitar Loops. It was a one-man band video. It was about 4 years ago. And you had me hooked. The way you break things down, I just absolutely love. Now, you predominantly give looping tips whilst you're mainly using a Tc-Helicon Voice Live 3. It's a multi-effects processor for those who don't know, but it also can do looping. So what made you pick the Tc-Helicon above everything else that was out there in the market?
Before that, I was using a stereo Jamman pedal. There was a few sneaky things I could do with it, of live recording one loop, stopping, pressing store on the pedal to keep that loop in there so that I could move to another memory bank and do like a B section. So that's what I was doing for various things.
You were storing it live right there in the moment. You were literally
yes,
so then it wouldn't erase itself when you went to the next memory.
Yeah, correct. It's actually what Mike from he does it in Permanent Holiday. His looping, he's using his toes to store and change it. So that's what I was doing. A friend bought the Tc-Helicon, and we hung out for a bit, and it was just such a better option. And at that stage as well, the idea of taking my whole pedal board and combining it into one unit that just put in a little bag, and you're sorted for vocals and guitar into a gig, with the fact that I could mix levels inside that unit as well.
Right.
And if I want to just have one mixed output straight into a system for solo gigs, it was just a really good option. Funnily enough, we'll probably talk about it later. I've now gone back the other way. I have a very large...
Oh yes, I have a question waiting for you. Don't you worry about that. Interestingly enough, you released a video. I can't stop laughing when we talk about this, because we've talked about this before this interview. You released a video where you migrated over from the Voice Live 3 to a Boss RC300, but you only decided to do that last year in 2020. What made you pick a looper that's already 11 years old?
11 years old. Hey.
Yeah.
It's older than my YouTube channel. There we go. A few things. So I was getting frustrated with some issues with the Voice Live 3 around reliability. When that's your whole setup and something fails, it's like everything is gone.
That's it. The whole thing's gone. Yeah.
So I bought the Ditto X4 as a backup.
I've seen it actually. Yeah. No, I apologize. Yeah, I did see a couple of videos where you kind of broke down the X4. That was a bit of a interim pedal in between the two.
Well, I bought it genuinely because if I was playing a full dance floor show where I'm looping and the Voice Live 3 died, I was back to being a solo guitarist. And if I've been booked for an event where people are like, we want to dance, you build loops, that was going to be an issue. So that's why I bought it. Obviously on the Voice Live 3 it does so much, but you're changing screens all the time. So the same pedal then on one screen does one thing. If you're on another screen, it does something else. So there's a little bit of thought that needs to go into what's happening. And if you're on the wrong screen and you think you're going to stop your loop, that might be a harmony or an overdrive for your guitar all of a sudden. So now you've got an overdriven guitar, your loop's still going, and you the RC300, every pedal just does the same thing, you know.
Right.
Regardless, there's no screen changes. That pedal is always going to either start the loop or record or overdub. It's never going to turn on a harmony all of a sudden, you know. So it's a little bit less brain power, which I'm enjoying for live shows. And the second part of it was just, I know a lot of people that use the RC300. It's been such a reliable pedal, and also I get a third track, which I joke about the Voice Live 3 being 2.5 tracks, because it does have A, B, and C. In the looper, but you can only ever have A and B or A and C at the same time.
Right.
So, which is great for you know, like chorus verse scenarios. But what I've been doing a lot of on the RC300, especially with a dance floor or that sort of vibe, is I can keep a groove on track A, have track B with it. I can add in some build-ups and breakdowns on track C, so they're all going together. Then if I want, this is you have to think through this a little bit. I'm literally. But then if I clear track C, from those extra bits and pieces, I can now start the build of another song. So I can actually keep things rolling.
Keep it rolling to keep. So if you're doing like a full, you're merging songs together.
Yeah.
You're DJing at this point.
Yeah, I'm DJing.
Live looper artist DJ.
I love that you say that, because I'm like, when I have zero clue about decks, DJ equipment, anything. If someone was like, you know, put me in front of it, I'd be lost. But yeah, it's opened up a lot, and I'm just really enjoying two things. I'm enjoying having that third loop track, and I have a couple of control triggers assigned to mostly start tracks 1 and 2 together and 1 and 3 together. It's not essential, but I really like, after a breakdown, just hitting one button, 2 tracks come in, and it's punchy. There's no delay on and no tap dancing, hitting track 1 and track 3, for example. Yeah. Or I just need to get a good stage jump, you know, like, and hit them both. But the track will start, but I will likely fall off the back of stage. So, which maybe that could be a really good part of the show. But to answer your question, there's a few things in there of kind of why I went with the RC300, and one of those is because obviously the Head Rush is an awesome pedal as well, and this was just around the time they did the update, which kind of got rid of a few of its complaints, I guess. One of the things for me was that option of starting certain combos.
I had the 300, and then there's another thing you can do, I know, where you can program the effects button if you're not going to use the effects on it to do something else as well, because those effects are just 11 years old. Have you combined the both? Are you still using the Tc-Helicon for things like effects, and is that feeding into the RC300, or are you back to single pedals, like for your tone and your guitar tone, and are you still harmonizing and stuff, or are you doing it all live now?
So I am back to single pedals. I'm actually editing a video at the moment on the pedal board, because it's turned into a monster. So at the moment I don't have harmonies. I'm using some for with looping. We're building harmonies and that sort of thing, and I use a vocal switcher, so like a line switcher.
Right.
So the same mic goes straight into the desk, and then I can switch it, and that will go into the RC300, which comes out my guitar channel.
So you're doing something different to some other loop. See, I've seen a lot of people doing the 2 mic thing. So you got a dedicated mic for the looper and another mic for the PA, and they can turn that on and off. So then you get 0 things going in if you're playing guitar. What you're doing is you're killing that channel. You're killing the mic before it reaches the looper, right? So therefore, then it's just that same microphone's going to the PA instead of the looper. Am I making a mistake?
Not killing it. There's always signal.
Right.
But it's just
Divert
like which way it's going.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's one mic system, but it's got like 2 paths. That's clever.
It's one of those things, right? We're always setting up all sorts of gear, and one less mic stand or the dual sort of attachment. So
I've been there, done that, and I've burnt the t-shirt on that one. I think it's all about routing, really, isn't it? It's about routing what you want where at any given time. So I find that interesting. Thank you for sharing that with me. So the next question I have for you then actually ties in with your upcoming video then, which I didn't know, which is, have you found your perfect setup yet?
Oh, I think it will always change, I'm really enjoying the setup I have right now.
Cool.
Which is, again, predominantly a big board, and 50% of it is geared towards looping. Which is, the RC300. I'm using 2 loopy pedals, an Australian-based company. That's the control pedals, and then this mic switcher. So that's all of those are geared towards the loop setup, and I have a few individual pedals along the way. But I'd love to be able to do all of that inside one pedal. The reason I didn't move to the RC300 earlier was I genuinely thought something would come out in the loop space, and I waited for that for a long time. And the head rush has come close, but isn't quite how I would use things. So that's probably the biggest thing that's changed in terms of how I loop. There's obviously been a lot of pedals released, but none of them quite cater to what I'm after. The only thing that I'm looking at currently for the board is I will add in a vocal processor and option at some stage, but I'm kind of enjoying not having it, to be honest. It's one less thing to kick on for harmonies and off or change any of those things. So in a strange way, although there's times I would love to have those things and they're really nice, I'm enjoying kind of keeping it simple. After all the complicated routing we've been explaining, I'm like, I'm keeping it really simple.
But the thing is, though, from a looping world, that is simple. I remember please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I remember you did a thing where you tweaked an octave pedal where it only really pick up the bottom 2 notes of your guitar. Like by the A string or the D string, it couldn't hear it.
It's a feature of the Boss OC3 or OC5, and it has an option to select range, which it's basically a low pass filter, right? It rolls off frequency at a certain point, so it's not connected to the strings. It's connected to a certain frequency. How I have it set, and there's a video on this that I did, but I basically set it so I get a little bit of octave just up to a D, kind of E flat D, which nearly gives me an octave from the low E. What happens is, if you're playing, what should we go with, G major chord as a bar chord, you're going to get an octave on both the G and the D still, those first 2 strings. So I started adjusting how I would play some of those chords when I have it on, because that sounds quite muddy.
I was going to say, you're going to get quite a rumble, aren't you?
Yeah, instead of being like, oh, this is nicely filled out with an octave pedal, it's sort of like, whoa, this is just too much. I'll either just lift that 3rd finger off slightly so that it mutes that 2nd string and gives me just the bass note, or I often will play in those sections where I'm playing live. It's not a looped guitar and a looped octave. I will play slightly differently to basically play the bass note and then the treble as separate strums to bring out. You'll see in the video, I now have an OC3 and an OC5, and I know I'm on the same board, so 2 octave pedals, and I know I'm going to get questions about it, so let's answer it here.
Already had to.
The OC5 I use purely as an octave, so no normal guitar tone. I think similar to actually how Carl has his set. I have a little bit of the direct signal still comes through. It's kind of like how I would EQ a bass, where I'd bring a bit of that top end in. Having a little bit of the guitar tone come through gives a nicer sound to the bass. And so that's purely when I'm looping. I kick that on. That's my bass lines, everything.
Right.
Then I have the OC3 I have set as we described, so it's just getting my guitars still coming through completely, plus just that bottom kind of up to an E flat with bass.
So you're using the 5 for if you're doing bass loops, so you can get an entire octave down, but then you're using the 3 when you want to play a bass note with a chord or with a melody, or right. Okay, so it's like 2 different patches of bass.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So maybe a good example is Maroon 5, This Love. So I loop that bass line with the chords, and then there's a little breakdown where I'm just the rhythm's still going. I'm playing just a strummed chord, just a held chord, but that's when I would use the OC3, because now that held chord has bass.
It's got a nice sustained octave down. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it keeps this full sound rather than loops off. Like all the band stopped, you know.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. That's cool. I never thought about having 2 bass pedals. That's cool. That's experimentation, and this is what I like about it. That's cool. Not quite found your perfect setup yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah, that was a long winding answer, wasn't it, to have you found your perfect setup? No, not quite, but I am really, really happy with the board that I'm running at the moment. It gives me a lot of options, and I'm really enjoying that.
That's cool. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Now, this is the question that I ask every person who comes on to How Do You Loop? And this question is, how, who, or what got you into looping?
I don't know. that's the simple. I was really trying to rack my brains. Like, how did I see someone? I have no idea. I do remember just being very excited that I could play the solos, because I was doing a lot of solo shows, and I remember being excited that with a loop pedal I could finally play the guitar solos that I learnt to 2 songs, because that was either just, do you keep playing the chords when there's a solo section and just like ask everyone just imagine there's a guitar solo.
That's why I've always got a kazoo handy.
Yeah. But that's what I first. That's all I really wanted and used a loop pedal for when I started. Yeah.
It just realizing that if you're a solo artist and then you want to take it a stage further, that looping was the answer. And look at the rabbit hole you've ended up going down. If there is someone who is thinking about looping and they're just starting out, and you had one piece of advice for someone who is just starting out, what would that be? But it can only be one. So
someone that's like got a loop pedal and just
someone's run out to the local music store and gone, I've bought a loop pedal, and they're going to start looping. I want to be a loop artist. What's the one piece of advice?
I would say film yourself and watch it back.
Oh, okay. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Just you grab your phone and have both your foot and whatever you're playing in view, and watch it back. As you get comfortable with looping, you'll notice that, because what often happens when people get started, it's a new thing, and there's just there's a lot of brain focus and that sort of thing. And there's a lot we don't notice that goes on. So this will solve timing problems, because you'll see it. You'll see yourself. You're like,
okay.
Oh, when I get round to hitting the pedal, I'm thinking, here it comes. And you slow down, and then when you see it back on camera, you're like, oh, that's why there's a gap. Because I'm thinking, here it comes. Or, yeah, just it's such an amazing tool. And I know it's awkward and cringy. I have the same thing. I look at myself, oh man. But you don't have to share it with anyone. It's just for you. But get out your camera and just record, so you can hear and see what you're doing without having to think about playing the guitar and hitting the loop pedal.
Right.
You can just watch back what you did, and that will improve your looping amazingly for most people, because you'll start to see things that you just never noticed, or you can almost watch your thought process too while you're watching it back. You're like, oh, right, cool.
Yeah. And you're analyzing your own looping through video. Is that what you're saying? Yeah,
essentially. And it's amazing if you've never done it. It's amazing when you watch back the things you notice. You can watch it without having to think about what you're doing,
like what's coming next. Like you're not preempting the next solo or the bridge, or I get it. No, it's cool. I like that idea. I never even thought about it for the sense of rhythm, like hesitance and things like that. You'd see it in a video. So that's a cool idea. I like that. Nice piece of advice. Thank you, David. I'll be filming myself later. Cool. So next question then. What's the best and worst thing about being a loop artist?
Interestingly for me, so I've become known as a loop artist, and I promote myself in that way as well. But I really love a lot of folksy guitar, which is like Chet Atkins, Jerry Reed, Tommy Emmanuel, fingerstyle guitar work, which is completely separate. I don't use a loop pedal. I'm playing just guitar. And I remember doing a show, and they were very excited about all the looping stuff.
Right.
I didn't loop for that show. I was just the combination of songs, and I have original tunes that I loop as well, but the combination of songs, just it was a folksy little vibe. That's what I was doing. So the downside, I guess, would be maybe you get pigeonholed a little bit into expectation of something.
Right.
So that'd be the downside. The good side would be, I just think there's so much scope to create with it for our own enjoyment. Like just how happy am I, like sitting down just at home playing through different ideas, putting down a groove and just experimenting, creating music, and being able to share that down the track with people. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, I like that about anticipation. You're the loop guy, aren't you? You're the loop.
Yeah. Not tonight. I think you'll enjoy this. A funny story from the tour. One of the tunes, it's a song of mine, Days Go By, that I built up quite a lot of loops. It's a repetitive chord sequence for the whole song. And this particular show, I mucked up everything, and I was undoing, then putting the octave in again. Oh, done. I made a mistake, so redoing that. I've learnt to keep it flowing quite smoothly.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, I was standing on every pedal repetitively to re-record, do this, undo. Oh my gosh, okay, try it. And at the end of the song, this one guy in the audience was like, "More tap dancing, like that was awesome, I was singing his experience versus mine. He was like, "Oh my gosh, he stepped on so many things, wow, like what was going on?" It was like, yeah, that's genuinely because I made as many mistakes as I could possibly make. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
So his experience was like, he's pressing so many things. I don't know what he's doing, but it looks great.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for sharing that story. That's fantastic. From the sheer panic on stage to the enjoyment in the audience, I think it's that's great. So you've had like 3 top 10 singles in the New Zealand charts, and your channel shows off your brilliant live performance skills, and you have lots of covers as well as your own music on your channel. So how do you approach music when it comes to looping, with both the cover choice and for your gigs, and also your own creations?
Yeah, I mean, for my own songwriting, it's usually just me with the guitar. It's not set up with gear and things like that. And ideas I'll write. I haven't specifically sat down to write a looped song as a focus. Although it has been on my radar, it just hasn't been something that I've done. So I tend to then in hindsight think, I wonder, can I add a rhythm to this? What might enhance this as a solo, if I was playing it solo, use it through looping, which might just be a rhythm. It might be that I adjust it slightly and can loop, and some things have just naturally worked really well for looping, because as I say, that particular song from previously, it's one chord sequence with a tiny little change, so it's just perfectly set up to build a track with. Yeah, so I guess it's very much the same in terms of cover songs. The song is already there, and I look at it and think, okay, am I gonna loop this or am I not? And if I am, I'm like, then I really start experimenting and trying to think, how can I get these different sections? How can I capture the vibe and feel of that song, or my own variation on it? If it's some full on thing where you're like, okay, the keys play a big part. It's like, I look at that stuff and think, what am I going to include? Do I need to capture the keys kind of in this tune? Do I need to capture the guitar part, or will just the main riff actually carry the song without without all the fancy extra bits and pieces? So
if you don't mind me asking, then, so you are deconstructing and reconstructing the covers based upon whether it's a major part of the tune. So if you take Superstition, you can't not have that riff.
I guess maybe a good example is I've been looping Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac, and to start with, I just genuinely looped a rhythm under it, a little groove, and was playing that main little riff under the verses, chords for the chorus. Just very simple, acoustic guitarist with a rhythm, essentially a rhythm track playing. I just recently started learning properly all of Lindsey Buckingham's parts in it, and started experimenting. Does this add to, I can build a bigger verse, I can build a bigger chorus, and put those in. Does it actually add to the performance? So far it's no.
Okay. Have to learn more bits.
I kind of learned them, and then went, I think I like just essentially what happened is I was like, I feel like if I put those parts in, I needed to put more in still to fill it out. So it sort of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. It made it a lot more of a build time. So yeah, for me it's a constant experimentation process.
That's good. That's cool. Just to embellish on that as well with your own creations, and when you are going, okay, can I loop this? Can I loop this? You just mentioned then about loop time, about the time when the audience is sitting there going, come on, start singing. Does that make you kind of do less is more, or does that make you kind of go, no, they need to hear every part of this because this is my song and you're here to listen to me?
I mean, I think that's become a natural part of my looping, has been thinking about the audience experience. So I think there's some excitement in building a loop, right? Like what's getting added. If we're layering right at the start, let's say we're layering harmonies for a long section, and we're just doing like a long just to map out the chords one at a time, you know, root note, root note, root note, root note, third, you know.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, I think if there's something interesting that, you know, unfolds, then awesome. We kind of sit through a certain amount of time being like, what's happening here? What's gonna show up? And that can be really kind of cool. I do like building things guitar-wise while I'm singing.
Right.
So, in fact, one of the things I really, really enjoyed, it's a reaction video I did for a guy doing Superstition. What I really liked is he built the track pretty quickly and is into it, but then added in things along the way. And I really like that approach because there's not a huge build-up. We're not waiting sort of 4 minutes to be like... what song is this? You know, it just keeps things evolving. It's a little bit like, you know, if you're going on a walk or a hike or something, if it was just one straight road, it's sort of like we get bored quite easy. But if it's sort of, you know, we're going here and then you turn a corner and you get a view of mountains all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I loved it. That was an amazing walk. And then we went around there and there was, you know, something I didn't expect, perhaps hiding behind some trees or, you know, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but mountains.
So we've talked looping, we've talked about song structure, we've talked about going for a lovely walk in the mountains. But David has got one final thing that actually he wants to talk about, which is you used to do... and you have done in the past on YouTube a Ask Me Anything live stream, and I think you've got something to say about that.
Yeah, I love it. So I mean, if you follow the channel, then you'll realize they stopped. I was doing that every Tuesday night, but I'm just in the process of bringing it back in a different format, which means that if you jump on the website, davidshannon.com, there'll be an option to send in questions. So I get that a lot from comments and things, whether it's about looping, Voice Live 3, songwriting, all sorts of different bits and pieces. But it just means that anyone, you can send in whatever you want, question, literally ask me anything, and I will put those into a format where I actually can film them at home, make the answers a little bit more useful than sometimes on the fly doing a live session. But I really enjoyed that, and I learn a lot from people's questions, as I'm sure you do as well, like comments and questions. And it's really, really nice to be able to share those things in a community online. Like, I really enjoy and appreciate what you're doing as well, because this stuff, chatting about this, making content that's available to everyone, just it helps everyone. You pick up some little thing that you think, oh my gosh, I'd never considered that, and your show, your enjoyment of music just increases. So yeah, there's going to be a new format. It's coming back, and it will be via the website. You'll be able to just send in at any point, and it will get answered as I get to them.
Fantastic, cool. Thank you for that. So, for those who don't know, let's recap. David Shannon is a loop artist, musician, has a YouTube channel, and go to davidshannon.com and you'll be able to put in your questions for his Ask Me Anything videos, and then you can get a big, nice, concise, elaborated, but also concise answer from your question that you may have. So thank you very much for doing this, dude. This has been great, and I'm now off to go and buy 2 bass pedals because but no, thank you so much. And I realize obviously time wise it's been a bit mad, but it's been great to kind of like pin you down, so get some answers out of you. And I think that the way you approach music is fabulous, and long may it rain in New Zealand.
Cheers. Well, it's raining now.
Oh, well, there you go. Long may it rain.
That's not what you mean.
Says a man in the UK.
It's been really, really great chatting with you.
Cheers,
it's been
man.
Awesome.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, a couple of things before I go. Don't forget to pick up your How Do You Loop t-shirt or hoodie. I'll put that discount code on the screen now. And it's gone. The link for picking up the t-shirt is in the description box below. As always, if you have found the content of this video useful, then please give it a thumbs up. It helps me, but it helps push this video out to other people who might want to watch it. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and then you'll know when the next video goes live. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Give me a moment, because my camera has just stopped recording.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Oh, well, that's not very handy.
Join us next week when we go on David Walk of the Wild. Just basically, like, well, let me rephrase the question, and we're going to cut this bit out. Not a live stream. Give it in now.
that'd be
that was the
great.
Best analogy I've ever heard.
You can edit this out later and say David got so excited about his analogy he
went on a walk.
It just went for a walk.